The knock on my door came just after midnight, the kind of knock that doesn't ask politely, but demands your attention. I remember staring at the clock, my chest tightening, wondering who could possibly need me at that hour. When I opened the door, my new neighbor, Claire Hudson, stood there barefoot, her hair messy, her face pale like she hadn't slept in days. But what struck me most wasn't her appearance, it was the fear in her eyes. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet ways strangers can change each other's lives, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe to the channel. Claire had only moved into the apartment across the hall a week earlier. We had exchanged nothing more than a brief hello and an awkward smile while passing in the hallway. She seemed like someone trying not to be noticed, the kind of person who carried invisible weight. That night, though, she wasn't trying to hide anything. She looked desperate. She told me she had left her phone at my place earlier that evening when she had stopped by to borrow a charger. I remembered it sitting on my kitchen counter, untouched. But before I could even hand it to her, she hesitated, her voice trembling as she asked if I had looked at her photos. The question lingered between us longer than it should have. I told her the truth, I hadn't. Not because I wasn't curious, but because something about her made me feel like boundaries mattered more than curiosity. She stared at me, searching my face for something, maybe honesty, maybe judgment. Then she exhaled, like she had been holding her breath all night. What I didn't know then was how much that small moment would matter. Over the next few days, Claire began to open up, not all at once, but in fragments. She started knocking on my door in the evenings, sometimes with coffee, sometimes with silence. Her story unfolded slowly, like pages torn from a book and handed to me one by one. She had come to Chicago to start over after leaving a toxic relationship that had drained her emotionally and financially. The phone she had left behind wasn't just a phone, it was a vault of memories she wasn't ready to face, pictures that reminded her of who she used to be, and who she had lost along the way. I began to see her not just as the quiet neighbor, but as someone fighting a battle most people never noticed. There were nights she would sit on my couch, staring into nothing, her thoughts clearly miles away. And there were mornings I would hear her laughter echo through the hallway, a sound so rare it felt like sunlight breaking through a storm. But healing isn't linear. One evening, weeks later, I found her sitting on the floor outside her apartment, her phone in her hand, tears streaming down her face. She had finally looked at the photos. Every memory, every moment she tried to bury had come rushing back. She told me she felt like she had undone all her progress, like she was back at the beginning. I didn't have the right words, but I sat beside her anyway. Sometimes presence matters more than advice. Slowly, things began to change again. Claire started painting, bright, chaotic canvases that seemed to pour her emotions onto something tangible. She picked up freelance work, rebuilt her confidence piece by piece, and began to smile more often. The woman who once stood at my door trembling was slowly becoming someone stronger, someone who could face her past without letting it define her. Months later, she knocked on my door again, but this time, it wasn't fear that brought her there. She handed me a small painting, something abstract yet full of color. She said it represented the night she left her phone at my place, the night she realized not everyone would take advantage of her vulnerability. Before we reach the end, I want to ask you something. If this story has touched your heart in any way, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know. And here's a special request, comment below and tell me, have you ever trusted a stranger and had it change your life? Claire eventually moved out, chasing a better opportunity in Seattle, but she left behind more than just a painting. She left behind a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of respect, the simplest choices to do the right thing, can ripple into someone else's healing journey in ways we may never fully understand. That night, when she asked me if I had looked at her photos, it wasn't just about privacy, it was about trust. And sometimes, trust is the first step toward rebuilding a life that once felt completely broken.